Hey guys, so last night as I was streaming, we were talking a little about the new player experience and what we think would really be necessary for a new player experience to be good in Lost Ark. And one of the ideas that was tossed out was the idea of a tier reset, basically tier 4. So we discussed kind of the, I guess, feasibility of that, what's possible, what's not possible, things that are holding us back from that, and how potentially we could even ever think about getting to tier 4. But hopefully you guys enjoy the video. As per usual, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MeSoXshiro starting at 10 p.m. PST. So hopefully I see you guys there. But if not, I hope you enjoy the rest of the clip. All right, guys. See you later. The only way is to add like tier 4, which makes all previous obsolete. Exactly. And they're not going to do that. Like the amount of money that the Koreans spent in this game makes it really tough for that to happen. And I was thinking about this one time, right? The problem is because of how the game, like how Korean MMOs work. And they are always incentivized to make the most money possible because the players in Korea will pay for that. Now, because I'm thinking like, how does like Path of Exile do it, where they always have resets, right? It's because none of their stuff is pay to win. And that's why they can reset all the time, because players don't invest into their characters. So if their characters get reset, that's fine. But in Lost Ark, you can put money to make your character more powerful. And that, at the end of the day, is the reason why having like big resets like this is really rough. Especially because we haven't had a reset in such a long time. I think that if they had been regularly doing resets, it might be, you know, a lot easier for them to make a tier 4. But because they don't do resets very often, tier 4 is just very hard to achieve and like make it palpable for Koreans. Just tell KR to spend more. I mean, they're willing to spend the money, but the problem is like when you make them feel like their money that they spent before was just worthless, I think that's when it becomes a problem. T4 is going to kill the game. I feel like we need it, but how? I don't know, honestly. Or they introduce an event where their gear is already imbued Transcendence, Transcendence, like when they gave Brel gear with level 2. I mean, the problem is not that. The problem is like the stones, the 9/7 stones. I think that is the biggest problem. And then like, you know, when you get a new weapon, it's like the qualities, right? Some people spend so much money getting their quality up. And like maybe you let it transfer the quality, but at the same time, that's not really a reset. That's not a new tier. That's like a soft reset, right? I think tier 4 will have to be like a major reset. Like everything becomes obsolete. Oh yeah, also Esters, you're right. I forget about Esters because I just don't even like think about it. Because I will never get an Esther weapon, so I just don't even think about it. Esters would probably be transferable or something. I mean, again, that wouldn't be a real reset though if the Esters are transferable, right? That's just a soft reset at that point. And we're talking about like an actual full-on reset. Imagine all the level 10 gem market destroyed on Azure tier 5. Yeah, that's another thing too, right? The gems, like people have just invested so much in their characters that like at this point, every time they decide like not to, every moment they decide not to reset or do like a tier reset is another moment where it just makes it harder and harder to do a reset. KR Revolt, yep. Any hard reset is a quit angle, yeah. For in KR, 100%. I think KR would be okay if, for example, our level 10s become level 9s. I don't know. Again, that's not a hard reset, though. That's a soft reset. And we've had soft resets in the past. Now, we haven't soft resetted things like gems and stuff, but we've definitely soft reset gear. Like, a new tier would say, like, it's basically a hard reset, right? Because tier 1, we had no gems. Tier 2, we had level tier 2 gems. Tier 3, we have tier 3 gems. So everything gets reset between tiers. They don't need to make everything transferable somehow or make a way to give everything off equal damage for tier 4. Again, it's just, sadly, that's not a tier reset. Like, we're all saying we need a tier reset, but none of you guys are suggesting actual tier reset like things. They're all soft resets. Like a tier reset would actually be everything is obsolete. Like if you think about it, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, when you go between the tiers, nothing is kept. Everything is just reset. Ooh, Fade Ember, Fade Ember, Fade Ember, Fade Ember, Fade Ember, Fade Ember. EXP card pack 808. Yeah, there's no way they'll do a hard reset at this point. Yeah, and that's the problem. 9-7 that costed 5 mil gold. Yep. If they tier resets for a reset, I'll quit. That's the thing. It's just not possible to do a tier reset right now. And that's why we'll be in tier 3 forever. They might make a tier 4, but that won't be a real reset. That might just be like a soft reset. 3 mil invested in accessories, 7 mil in gems gone. We could make everything, including gold, obsolete. Well, new and returning players will never catch up. Yeah, I mean, exactly. If we never reset the tiers, new and returning players will never catch up. And that's the problem, right? And that's one of the main problems we face in Lost Ark every single day. And that problem is that new and returning players, that like the reason why the game is consistently dying is, of course, one, because of the problems that we have in the game itself, but two, because there are no new players. There's no new and returning players for the most part, because they literally can't return. They can't start the game, because when they do, they just have a terrible time. I mean, they're giving returning players enough gear to do the end game content. It's just that people don't want to play with them. The problem is, right, even if you give new players the gear, it's like you said, nobody will play with them. Like, they can't actually give new players the gear required to do the raids, right? Like, they have to, like, give the new players some form of progression that they need to do. Like here's what I mean, right? I think that as long as they don't do a reset, they're not going to be able to give new players gear to the point where they are able to run with everybody else. And there's multiple levels of this too. Yeah, and there's and Sharf, you're kind of pointing towards the other area that I was going towards. You have the other system that makes it actually impossible at this point to do a full reset is the card sets. Because the card sets are not tier dependent. Like, you could say, I'm going to reset everything, right? All your gear, all your accessories, all of everything. But as long as cards exist in the game, then that's going to be really tough for them to make a reset. They would have to reset the tiers to the point where even cards become obsolete. Because, again, as a new player coming in, you could give me every single piece of gear, but if I don't have the cards, that doesn't, I can't really do anything about it. They should just delete the cards. I mean, it again just comes from the players, like, being pissed off. I think deleting cards would be an overall positive for the game, but I feel like people will be pissed. What do you think about new and returning players not wanting to play with other new and returning players? I just think that's stupid. It's basically saying, like, I want to join a prog group, but I want reclears in that prog group. It's so stupid. Don't even check cards, gotta delete roster level. There's just so many roster bound systems that make it really hard for a full reset at this point. Just like you said, roster level, cards. Like, until they get rid of these two things, right? Cards and roster level, people are always going to get gate kept. New and returning players want to play with juicers and are getting gate kept. Full new player, returning player lobbies are jail, kind of. Yeah.
The thing with the cards thing, though, Miso, like, I feel like they can't get rid of it because people paid for it already, right? Like, they've paid for all those card packs. And that's then, like...
Mm-hmm.
You can't nerf it that much either because they'll still feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of the hole that they've dug themselves into because it's so expensive to get all these like pieces of vertical progression. If they just get rid of it, like people are gonna riot.
Yes.
New players are low-key toxic. Y'all run a Vault and Vicus. Those that are so mean. I'm not saying they're nice at all. I think like some of the people who gatekeep the most are the people who are like, frankly, not very good at the game or not geared very well. It's not 100% that that's the situation, right? It's not everybody. Like there are definitely toxic people and like people who gatekeep who are like very well geared and stuff like that. But I actually think that the people who are usually the most toxic are the people who are like kind of like the newer / middle tier of players.
In chat, maybe. And then IRL, that's not the case.
Oh yeah, I mean IRL, they're gonna be very different people.
Like the more experienced players are gonna be toxic, but only to their Discord friends.
Yeah, only their Discord friends. It's true. It's very true. If only need to get rid of cards or roster, they just make the information private so others can't see it. It's true. I agree with that. But the thing is, if they are not policing damage meters here, then we'll still at the end of the day have the same problem. Even if they hide that stuff. Like they might prevent initial gatekeeping, but it'll just get to the point where like after a run or two, people will just kick you. And that's the problem. That's another problem, right? The DPS meters coming into play there. But then you already completed the raid anyways. It depends, right? I think on homework runs maybe, but then if it's on like a prog or something, then it would be something else. It would be different. But yeah, for homework, you probably would have completed the raid anyways. But they'll probably block you, put you on the blacklist. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. I think that it would be nice, but I don't think it would solve the problem completely, unfortunately. But here's the thing, right? And this is something that I am going to be talking about in my video tomorrow that I for YouTube. But this comes from the Inven post that was on Korea in like the dude posted about North American Lost Ark. And I'll just touch on it briefly. And maybe I'm misreading it and I don't know what it actually says because the Google Translate is kind of weird. But here's how I took it, right? So in this post right here, the guy said that in Lost Ark in Korea, they have this thing of, let's see, where is it? So this is right here. In Korea's Lost Ark, users have created various cultures to resolve these situations. Representatively, the Corpse Commander lobby was created, so like, you know, Legion raids, was created as Tri-Closet, Soft Skilled, Hard Boil, whatever, right? I don't know what these means. These are probably bad translations. But from what I can tell, these are like levels of like reclear status. You know how we have prog versus reclear homework, right? They have multiple levels of this where like, you know, you might not be a prog, but you might have like clear like once or twice. You're kind of comfortable with it, but you have like a couple things that you still need to learn. So they have those levels, different levels of prog. But for us in the US, we just have prog and reclear. We don't have any of those things in the middle. Now he talks about like something like this whatever Tongdi authentication. I don't know what it is, but apparently they have some way of like making it so that they can actually like filter out people who are like not like at the different levels. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they do it, but they do it in Korea to make it so that you have these different levels of prog. And that's one of the main problems here for new players. Newer players, a lot of times, they're not all prog. They might have progged and learned the raid already, but they're not super comfortable with it. And they also have like not as good cards, things like that. And then if you had these like different tiers, you might have a place for these new players. But they either have to choose between prog or learning or reclear, which at that point they're neither. Some reclears feel like prog to me, and that's the problem, right? We don't have anything in between. We don't have a place to be able to, like, we don't have the, I guess, the culture that Korea has of actually having like, you know, prog learning to like chill reclear to like uber chill reclear, whatever it might be, right? So, and that's why we get these runs where we have these people who are not very good because they aren't actually like homework reclear. Some people put EXP on work, but I feel like it attracts worse players. Yeah, and I don't know how we would filter that and how Korea filters that. Is it like a truly a cultural thing where like if you're not actually EXP reclear, you don't join the EXP reclear, or you don't consider yourself an EXP reclear? Like I don't know what the difference is to where they can actually have a system where you can actually efficiently gatekeep out and like, you know, have those people who join your homework reclear run actually be homework reclear. We wouldn't have because the imposter's also busting. We don't have the API resources. Yeah, and I think that he mentioned a little bit that Loawa helps with that. But like Loawa, what does that offer that the party finder doesn't offer? I guess what you there is another thing, right? And here's the bigger thing, I think. On Loawa, you can check what their roster looks like. You can check what eye level their roster is. And this is why I had this idea a while back. And it's not perfect, right? Because they're not going to release the API to us. So it says right here, item level 1600.83. Personally, I have no clue what this earned whatever thing is. As far as I know, every single one of my characters, this shit looks the same. It's the same exact number on both of them. Why don't you make it so that this big number is your character item level, and then this one right here, earned, actually means this is the highest item level character I have on my account. Or it's like your, you know, what is this thing? When you go to the character screen, you could select your like main character, or your whatever, your favorite character, your profile picture character or whatever. And it shows you that, and you click on it, you can see its gear, you can see its engravings. It opens up this one right here, main character, right? It opens up a menu where you can actually take a look at like all of its stats, all of its gear, things like that. Maybe it's like if you take off gear, it'll stay the same. I see, yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. It's where when you take a lower item level gear. Again, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why is that even a thing? I just think that they should make it so that this, instead of like doing that, it's just your highest. Either that or like add another line, whatever, right? Have a place where you can actually see the person's like main character, quote unquote, and check it out. Check out their gear. It's not a perfect solution, but I think it could go a long way in helping people actually identify like who are the imposters and who are not the imposters. And also, again, maybe start having a system where we can actually have those like, here's a prog, here is a tier 2 prog, here's like a a tier 3 prog, here's like a reclear, here's a homework reclear. Like it might be like a start in like actually getting that systems like that in place where we can actually have like ways so that people don't imposter into runs. Because I think that one of the reasons why we gatekeep so hard is our fear of having imposters in our run.